Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And today we're going to be going over the UFO UAP situation that we see ourselves in, and every network is talking about it. But this is a topic that I have a lot of knowledge about. I've been following this topic as long as I could remember. So I thought I'd shed some light on some of the things that I know. Before we get started, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe before you leave and like, comment, and share this video. Okay, so I want to start out with some of the historical pieces of evidence that we have that UFOs have been seen over the course of history for many years, at least hundreds of years, potentially thousands of years. And what really kind of solidified this idea that some of these phenomena have been seen for a long time is this clip, and it is very reminiscent of the Ezekiel's wheel. And this was captured by a number of people, and they've posted it. And the Ezekiel's wheel, one of the descriptions is that it was like a circle within a circle, or a ring within another ring. And I'll play it one more time. And so I really feel like this type of craft has been seen for a long time. Now, they're not all like this. They're not all ancient, ancient UFOs. Some are going to be more recent. Some of the sightings are aircraft and real drones, like human-operated drones. But I think there's a large array of old technology, new technology, misidentifications, holograms, and I think those are the ones that I feel we're seeing. Also, a lot of people are now looking up, so I think some of these videos are people seeing something they want to see when it's actually something else, like flares or planets or satellites. I do think a lot of them are satellites because people are zooming in and seeing cubes, but I can't be sure. Here's another one about how these UFOs are being hit by a weapon.
Hey, it's Glamham. More developments every hour, it seems, on the mystery drones seen not only over New York, but all over the United States and even other parts of the world. Well, check this out. Many have said, why aren't they being shot down from the sky? Well, what if they can't? Just a theory. These mystery orbs were seen over a military base in Afghanistan in 2011. And look what happens when they are shot down. Apparently nothing. Let's take another look. These definitely don't look like the drones we've been seeing so much with the lights on them. But it does beg the question, are the drones with the lights on them up there because of the actual UAPs that may be something like this? Posted by Unidentified Phenomena, supposedly shot over Hamilton, New Jersey last night, which would be the 16th of December. Watch what happens here. We have an orb replicating. It appears that one of the orbs is shot, and this time does not reform, as we saw earlier. And by the way, the Army was just handed a to-do list, including anti-drone systems, which does indicate perhaps they might need them. Can't wait to hear what you think. We'll see you in the comments.
All right, so I'm going to go into some of the historical depictions of UFOs, and then also talk about something that was recorded in the 50s in Italy. And then after I go through the historical part, Shane's going to go into the PSYOP part. We're both on the same page as with, that this is a PSYOP in order for a power grab and to allocate more money and change legislation to give the government more power over various things like politics and the skies. So let me go into these very old depictions. Right here is a crucifixion of Christ. This is from the 1350s. And on both sides of the painting, there are these flying objects. They both have a being in them. One looks like a human looking behind at the other one. And yeah, they're certainly flying in the sky. Here's another one, Madonna, from St. Giovannino from the 1400s. And it's a small, little object, but if you kind of zoom in on it, you see that it looks kind of like a craft that is emanating some sort of ray or light, possibly. And then the person on the ground there and his dog are looking up at it, kind of suggesting that people were looking up at these objects for a very long time. Here's another one. And I know, Shane, that you had a little information, the miracle of snow in Rome.
Yeah, so this is a painting that actually depicts not only strange cloud formations, but it was also snowing in Rome in August. So this was in August of 1432 is what this depicts. And not only was there allegedly, craft seen, but it was also a really rare snowstorm at the same time.
Right. And we're going to go into another kind of snowstorm-like event that happened more recently, but it certainly looks like these little objects, they look more like saucer type UFOs versus clouds, but I can't be sure.
Right.
Here's one more. It's the 15th century orb of Fortuna. And this does kind of look like some of the objects that have been recorded more recently. These orbs that have some sort of, something going on inside, but it's kind of hard to see. And you see here again, on the people on the ground, these men here are looking up at it in awe. And then you can also see these other objects that could be other craft or some other phenomena. And then this one is from 1538, the Triumph of Summer. Again, we see these flying saucer objects in the sky. And then here is a more recent event. This is from 1954. This took place in Florence, Italy. And during a soccer game, these objects were seen flying over the town, and they dropped a substance that we call angel hair. And it looks kind of like big spider webs, and it gets all over the place. This has happened more recently, I think, in France, maybe a couple decades ago. But what they found were this substance that was all over the place. According to this article, it evaporated in about an hour, but somewhat was taken to a lab, and they found that this substance was made of aluminum, boron, calcium, silicon, and magnesium. So that really caught my attention, because we talk about the other substance that's being sprayed in the sky. But I just thought that was really interesting that they tested it, and that's what they found. And that was in the mid-50s.
And it kind of reminds me of the early days of stratospheric aerosol injection in the late 90s, where I actually personally had witnessed some of this angel hair type of material falling down, and it was sticky, and it would get on objects like tree limbs and cars and things like that. But within about an hour, it had dissolved. So that sounds very similar to what happened in Florence.
Yeah, a lot of unusual things more recently coming out of the sky. I think in Maine, there was some kind of brown snow that fell. Okay, and then I'm going to go a little bit into, this is going to kind of segue into what's going on today. And someone that I've been following for a long time is Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's been blowing the whistle for a while that this was going to happen. I do want to point out, for those that are less invested in this topic, there are a lot of specialists or leaders that are, I believe, part of the PSYOP side that are trying to present this narrative that these are an alien threat, and that we need to be afraid of them, and that we need to change laws and I guess give the military more power in order to protect us from this threat. But I don't think that is really what's happening. But we have some clips of people that are much more familiar with this operation. Here's Stephen Greer.
This sort of thing would happen for 30 years. There's a covert rogue military component that is behind all these drone sightings. Some of them are drones, some of them are a little more advanced. Most of them are part of a rogue military operation to basically create a psychological warfare effect in the media and in the public. These fascists and criminals that have, at the core of these covert operations, have been launching these sort of decoy drone events, and also orbs. People are seeing these orb-like things.
Yeah,
those aren't extraterrestrial either. 100% of it's man-made. This is going to happen during this transition before the next president comes in. I've been, doing kind of shuttle briefings from London to the incoming presidential team and the existing leaders at the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committee. So I've just been going flat out, for the last few months, because we've known about this for some time. And these actually are part of a covert rogue military and corporate organization that I've been blowing the whistle on for 30 years. In fact, the way I knew this operation was illegal was when I briefed President Clinton's first CIA director on the matter, and on December 13th, 1993. So that's 31 years ago this past week. And he and the president had no access or knowledge of these programs. That is actually being run very secretively, but also illegally, without the oversight of the Congress or the president. By late 1950s, there were operational man-made UFOs that were anti-grav type devices. Ben Rich was the head of the famous Lockheed Skunk Works. He said, anything you can imagine, we've already done at the Lockheed Skunk Works. He said, not at Area 51. The real action is the Lockheed Skunk Works. It's in underground facilities. And he says, anything you've seen portrayed on Star Trek, we can do it, and we've done it. So that's the sort of technology. Unfortunately, some of the worst people on the planet have it. It is not known by, I don't know of a president since I've been working on this who's been read in or briefed on it properly. It's covert, rogue, military, corporate. I'd say the center of power on this is corporate. But there are people who are embedded in the Pentagon and even in the House and Senate. I've been asked to sort of put out to the public and to the incoming administration the details of this, so there's a heads up. I don't know if you guys remember Wernher von Braun. He invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler. Mm-hmm. Okay, so his spokeswoman for the last 5 years of his life, he was dying of liver cancer, is on our team, Carol Rosin. And she was the first woman executive in the aerospace industry. And back in 1974, Wernher von Braun said to her, what we're going to do, we're going to hoax an alien threat to consolidate sort of a totalitarian power. Whoever is the president when this comes out, and I'm told it'll happen sometime between now and early January. Well, let's say the constitutional government of the United States is several thousand years technologically behind this rogue element. That's the real problem. They're using a very advanced version of an electromagnetic pulse weapon. Now, of course, these are illegal under the International Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, but they use them. What an EMP, a directional energy weapon, that's EMP, does, it has also embedded in it something called a scalar or longitudinal electromagnetic field that is multiples of the speed of light. Tesla talked about it back in the, I think, 30s. And those will totally disable all electronics on any object that is in 3 dimensions, let's say, that isn't trans-dimensional.
Now, can these energy weapons affect weather? Are they part of anything? Start fires? Can they do really anything? They're just way ahead advanced. We don't know. We can't put.
Well, those would be. I do. I mean, those are different weapons. They have the ability to trigger fault lines and cause earthquakes. There are all kinds of. Well, they want people to think that we're under some kind of alien attack because it being unknown. My job is to say, no, those aren't aliens or extraterrestrial. That's our stuff. And even the advanced stuff you're seeing are actually not. They sure look like they could be not of this world. Or keep in mind, what is 75 years and trillions of dollars in black budget funding get you technologically when you have the real McCoy? You actually have the interstellar and extraterrestrial vehicle.
All right, so that's Dr. Stephen Greer. I trust what he says, and a couple of other specialists we're going to discuss soon. I did want to make everyone aware that there are characters who are not on our side, that are part of the PSYOP, that are trying to scare us, and people such as Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and Nick Pope. I don't trust them that they're on our side. I think they're part of the problem. And but
I also
Dr.
don't
Greer,
trust Lion Lou Elizondo myself, or basically almost anyone who's been in those congressional hearings, with the exception of Michael Schellenberger. And I take everything he says with a grain of salt. I did want to add that Stephen Greer had confirmed my suspicion that the center of power on this operation is corporate in nature.
okay, and then I'll let you go on with the PSYOP.
One other thing that wasn't really mentioned in the Stephen Greer clip was holograms. Now, there is something called Project Bluebeam that has been known in popular culture. However, Stephen Greer, he says that that's not the actual name of the operation. However, he didn't go into much detail about holograms, and neither did either of our other guests that we're going to show clips from. And I just wanted to say that there's maybe two explanations for why those craft could not be shot down. One would be advanced technology, and the other one would be holograms, because you can't shoot down a hologram. Okay. So now the next expert that I want to introduce is Dark Journalist. He's been covering this for a couple years now, and he's been saying the same thing for a couple of years, and we're going to hear from him.
There's so many people that are awakening to the idea that this advanced technology in the background and the wall of secrecy that's involved with it is corrosive. And we need to get to the bottom of it if we're ever to get a full free society. And in the meantime, we're completely under siege while we're in this transition period with a weakened administration on the way out and the Trump administration not quite in until January 20th. So there's a kind of a period there, a vacuum of power. And this other thing, this kind of extraterritorial force seems to be moving in and testing things out. And as we know, we've done a lot of reporting on the Continuity of Government COG program here. This is very interesting because the Continuity of Government program only really comes to light in full blossom in the work of Professor Peter Dale Scott. And that's where I learned so much of it. And then what I did was I applied that knowledge around the continuity of government and try to see how it crisscrossed with the secret space program development and that secret space architecture. And it's like, hey, it's been 52 years. Where have you been with all the technology? Well, you've been in the heart of the secret space program. That level of secrecy applied to space, along with the continuity of government, which includes large-scale underground bases in the United States and around the world, leads to a serious schizophrenic situation for the average person on the ground. And you have two major secret structures on overdrive, COG and SSP. And in the middle of it, guess what? The UFO file. And their whole thing about a UFO threat and them saying, oh, no, they'd never pull that. We'd never get a false CIA UFO threat, but there might be a real threat from aliens out there. No, what they're doing is they're creating the kind of panic level of floating these anonymous things over entirely populated metropolitan areas with no explanations, and they're seeing how the public reacts to a threat from above, which is something that's been core to their plan with the idea of a UFO threat narrative out of the CIA, NGA, and NRO apparatus. They've been creating this now. They've had it under works for 80 years, and one of the outcomes that they can get from a genuine UFO emergency that takes place is they get the ability to ramp up emergency powers and ultimately trigger continuity of government. So, this in itself, there's a whole thing about these scientists that get together, every 6 months or so, and they figure out how close on the nuclear clock we are to nuclear Armageddon and things like that. And thank God that clock goes down sometimes as much as it goes forward. But once in a while, when things ratchet up, that thing gets really close. Well, I want you to think about this in terms of the COG around the UFO threat thing. The hand of the clock moved rapidly on this one. And so, we're in a kind of a different trajectory. And a lot of the kind of BS narratives around the UFO field about trusting the CIA and, the CIA has your best interests at heart and all these counterintelligence people before Congress are being straight with the public completely goes out the window, because here, literally, is the UFO threat narrative emergency powers test. And whether that test goes live is what we're seeing and what we're going to look for. And then I'm going to show you what is going on in the background of the actual COG Northcom commander, who is General Gio. He's the person who would take over as the COG Continuity of Government Combatant Commander of the United States. And this guy appoints regional governors. This is the way COG works. And the regional governors take over, you know, the Eastern Zone, and this guy gets the Western Zone and the Midwest and the breadbasket, you know. So they break up these zones, and then the idea is, oh, you know, we'll let the emergency pass, and then we'll stage elections again. Well, we know that that doesn't always work out very well. And so COG has been building up and building up. We've kept an eye on it, and it's been one of the most important things on this program. We've made a promise to you to keep a very close eye on the false narrative coming out of the intelligence community relating to a UFO threat narrative to trigger emergency powers. And so here we are in the middle of the drone swarm. And then I'm going to show you what's been going on in the background for the last couple of months with the combatant commander hosting these drone swarm tests against UAP. And this is the nature of those drills. And that is Operation Homeland Synchronizer. You're hearing about it here maybe for the first time, but it's very important to the drone swarm stuff we see going on here. And of course, late breaking news that the Space Force may be involved.
All right. So yeah, it's starting to look a lot like a psyop or a power grab is what it appears to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we really, at least I wanted to put this out as soon as possible because there is a very big, I guess, plan that I feel like everyone should be aware of, and it's potentially going to roll out very shortly, right? Like before Trump's inauguration. So yeah, I'll let you continue more on exactly like how this power grab is going to roll out.
Yeah. One thing I'll just jump in and show real quick is that they have on December 20th, so a couple days ago at least, they have, you know, the previous counter UAS authorization has expired. And so they're technically not authorized to engage these craft at the moment. And so they have introduced the Counter UAS Authority, Security, Safety, and Reauthorization Act to try to not only reauthorize their powers to engage, but also expand their powers as well. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that that's a power grab, and we need to keep an eye on this and give opposition to it. So, yeah. All right. We have one more expert that I want to show, and he was the special agent in charge of the FBI's X-Files. You could almost call him the real-life Fox Mulder. His name is John DeSouza, and we're going to hear from him now.
The end goal is, and this is a long-term psychological operation, as well as physical operation. The long-term goal is ultimately to put together this grand fake alien invasion. The only fake part about it is going to be that the alien visitors are involved with this. Large super weapon drones, they have the ability to put out electromagnetic pulse to deactivate any drones or even airplanes that go against them. It could be a what we call a slow kill situation, a slow kill, which really means it would be mass casualty events stretched out over long periods of time, where they use dirty radiation type bombs to slowly spread this radiation, and that leads directly into the notion that if someone tells you, oh, we have these physical UFOs that are real UFOs, they just showed up on the White House lawn and they're just hanging out there. Well, it's a lie. One of the great goals for the cabal is to try to stop the inauguration of Donald Trump. The former Navy admiral who's a spokesman for the Biden administration.
Oh, John Kirby, yeah.
Correct. And he came out with the most insane statement we've ever heard. He said,
"We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat. or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said,
that's it. The main thing he was concerned about is people shooting at these drones. So he was basically saying, if you shoot at these drones, you're going to be arrested. So the reason why, I don't think these drones can be shot down. But the problem is, in case somebody does shoot them down, I believe they carry a lot of radiation somehow. We don't even know what their power source is. They don't want any of these drones to release their radiation prematurely before they're ready. These drones really are super weapons, and they are incredibly powerful, and that's before you even get into the plasmas and the orbs that are accompanying them. I really liked that 4chan post that you put on from 2022, which was the one that explained exactly what's going to be going on with these drones. And they actually said these will be radiological attacks, could be dirty bombs, and they will go into permanent lockdowns. What does this remind you of? Permanent lockdowns and medical restrictions. Imagine instead of having to wear a mask, you have to wear an astronaut suit. Who made the orbs and the plasmas? The people who made these are basically Skunkworks, McDonnell Douglas, DARPA, Raytheon. They basically copied how to make plasmas and orbs. These are not American organizations or American companies. They work directly for the cabal. Of course, don't listen to anything the US government tells you when they start telling you shelter in place. We have lockdowns now. Wear that astronaut suit. It's for your own good. Instead of just a mask. Just don't listen to anything the government says right now. We need to continue to do the motto of what is called expose, defeat, deter. In other words, we have to keep talking about this. We have to keep telling each other, no matter if we get ridiculed, no matter if the New York Times says that we're idiots or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Or CNN comes after us, it doesn't matter. We have to keep on exposing this so that can be a part of the solution ultimately.
There was just two more points I wanted to bring up. And one is that they say this is going to happen before January 20th when Trump can take power. That could be just another level of the PSYOP to further scare the conservatives. And if it doesn't happen before January 20th, then that's probably, likely the case. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that the use of holograms is most likely overlooked and underrated. All right, back to you, Tracy.
All right. Do we want to show the continuity of government officials that would be put into power?
Sure. So I'll show this really quickly. So in the event of a continuity of government plan being activated, they're going to take these 17 individuals who would be in succession to the president, and they will separate them and put them underground and protect them. And they basically become the new operational federal government, along with Combatant Commander General Guillot.
All right. So yeah, that makes sense. When I first heard that, I really thought it was crazy that this would actually happen. But kind of hearing these people that I trust, Greer and DeSouza talk about it, I do think this is a very strong possibility that the cabal will try to take control of our governments. And something that John DeSouza brings up is that, I don't think he went into it with the clip we have, but his book is called The Interdimensionals. and talking about, I don't want to use the word aliens because that implies that there's some being from another planet that, they travel here and back. I think it's a lot. I don't think it's quite like that. If these beings are so advanced, they're 100, 200, thousands of years more advanced than us, they are probably undetectable. They can't be defeated. And so much to the point where they can be invisible to us. So they could be existing within in the space that we see, but just in a way that we are not aware of them, or like in another dimension. So the idea that we can protect, the government can protect us from advanced beings, I think is very. And then something else that, did we put that map, those regions of like the governors? Did we put that
No,
up?
so that's not actually a real map. So that map is actually from the Hunger Games, but
Oh,
the reason
okay.
I showed that is because the power that General Gio would have to appoint regional governors sounds a lot like the districts that would result in Hunger Games.
Okay, so just like breaking up the country in a different
Right.
way that we have right now. But yeah, that's really terrifying. And because we've been talking about these fires, I do think the powers that are behind these weather events, I do think they're the same people that are behind this UAP psyop. Do you think so?
Oh, yeah, I believe it's those rogue corporations that are role playing as the world government, so they fall in line with the UN and the World Economic Forum, and that's the cabal that they serve, basically.
Yeah, so that's really terrifying. And I think this is kind of like a last ditch effort to control the masses, because it's become very difficult with like what we're doing here, independent journalists that are telling the truth and not listening to them. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. So thank you all so much. In case this is the last video of the year, I just wanted to share my gratitude, express my gratitude for everyone who has supported the channel this year. This was a very big year for Brush Junkie in that the channel has grown so much, and a lot of things that I never thought were possible, for me at least, have happened, including the book and the ability to talk to some of these people that I never thought I'd be able to talk to, and to share their information with all of you has been an honor. And so yeah, thank you all so much, and we will see you all soon. Bye.